Hi, and thank you for joining a Family Leadership Design Collaborative video. Today I'm honored to present Alma Yanagi. She's Community Organizer and Assistant Partnership Manager at the University Neighborhood Partners. We also have Paul Kuttner, Educational Pathways Partnership Manager at University Neighborhood Partners. Welcome to you both. I'm hoping that you'll be able to tell us a little bit about your context and what educational justice and community wellness means for University Neighborhood Partners.
Thank you. Well, to start off, a little description about the West Side, Salt Lake City. About 15 years ago, the university president of the University of Utah had noticed that the numbers of students that were enrolling at the University of Utah were quite low, almost non-existent. And there was a few surveys and research that had been conducted in the West Side neighborhoods where the university was very interested in finding out why it was this huge disconnect between the University of Utah and residents of West Side Salt Lake City, it being so close to the University of Utah, and yet it was the least accessible for these communities. And in doing so, there was information that told the researchers that families were very lost when it came to the University of Utah. They felt that it wasn't a place where they could actually attend school, even though it was just it was at a very close distance. It was still a very difficult process for families to actually feel comfortable in having their students register. At the time, there was also a very high percentage of students that were not even graduating high school. So in that being said, the research led to University Neighborhood Partners becoming not only somewhere where the community could come and seek information and resources, but it had to be something that was inside, or not just connected to the community, but part of the community. And making it very accessible for community residents to come and find out whatever their needs were, or find the connections needed to resources that families needed to connect to.
So University Neighborhood Partners, our model, we are a department of the University of Utah, but we have made a strong, really strong commitment to a specific set of West Side neighborhoods. And, I think the image around the country of Utah is, I think, a very narrow one in terms of who lives here. But the West Side of Salt Lake City is one of the most diverse, some of the most diverse neighborhoods in the state. There's a very strong Latino population. There are a whole range of communities of immigrant and refugee background here. It's a major refugee resettlement area. And so these are really just incredible communities to work in. University Neighborhood Partners, we purchased a house in the West Side, so we're not on campus, which here is literally kind of up the hill in the foothills. We have our offices, and all of our work is right here in the community, and we build partnerships between the University of Utah, whether faculty, staff, students, departments, institutions on the West Side, including schools and community organizations, but also, and I think this piece gets left out of a lot of university community partnerships, is residents. It's ensuring that resident leadership and resident voice is a part of every single partnership that we build.
So looking at education and what that meant for students, we had to step back and look at students as a whole. What actually affects a student from not attaining higher education? We have to look at their environment, everything that they're connected to, seeing that their education at home, their family, the neighborhood in which they live in, the school, even religion, culture, their culture and background, all of that is what makes a student. And understanding all of those aspects of a student is what it takes to actually provide pathways for students to actually begin to think about their higher education and the entire process of that.
Nice. So our task, University Neighborhood Partners, even though our task began in a very educational focus, I think one of the strengths is that we address all of what we call barriers to education. So we're from addressing, from helping to build community leadership to addressing mental and physical health to addressing job, and to really look not only at young people but at students of all ages.
All right, thank you both. Do you want to share just one next practice that you are engaging in that you're really excited about that you'd like to share?
So one example would be the community advocate model, and that's working with parents at different school sites. Rather that be a group of parents that just gets together for a second cup of coffee in the morning at the school site, or it being something more structured like the PTA, PTSO, even school community council. So meeting with parents and identifying issues or even barriers that they need to overcome, not telling them how to overcoming those barriers, but actually working together where they're finding their own solutions. But the University of Utah, the school district, and the community coming together in a safe space where these issues can be addressed and hopefully find solutions for them. Throughout the academic year, these groups get together at different school sites, but then when the summer comes, it's more getting them together in a community space, rather that be a park, or it could be here at UNP. We also have meetings once a month where the leaders of these different groups come together and continue to address issues that are happening at different school sites. Or it could be a personal issue that's happening directly with a family and a student. Or it could be a youth community advocate. It could be a junior or a senior that brings a certain issue to the table, and with the larger group, together they come out with solutions. Another way that these community advocates are supported in their leadership roles are, for example, when they're connected to a certain school and they're not only volunteering their time, but they're also being a part of planning or bringing solutions to the table, sharing their ideas and how they would like to see improvement happen within the school. UNP provides a stipend for these parent leaders that are connected to, directly connected to schools.
So Alma here is maybe being a bit humble, but Alma has developed this entire program. Came into UNP as a parent wanting to get more engaged in school, and one of the first trainings that UNP did over 10 years ago, and has developed the community advocate program. I'm relatively new to Utah, and I think coming in from the outside, some of the things I think are particularly innovative and interesting about this program. One is the fact that it's a university district community partnership, and I think the university plays a really unique role in the ability to bring knowledge and resources to the table, but also just to help facilitate the conversations and the connections. And so by having parent leadership as part of this larger partnership, we're able to create opportunities for parents to build capacity, while at the same time addressing the capacity of schools to partner with parents. And at the same time connecting both of those to our larger efforts around health, wellness, jobs, and all the other issues that affect schools, but which so often seem to get left by the wayside in education reform. A second thing I would say is really unique is this position of a kind of placed community advocate at a school who receives a stipend to be a liaison and actually sits in meetings with all the partners, including the principals, vice principals, and people at the school to help plan engagement activities. And this is a really unique position that is not the stipends usually come from UNP. So they're not, they're a very middle position where they're sort of seen as someone who works at the school, but they're also, but they're not a school employee. They're a parent leader, and it's a tough space to negotiate, but I think they can play a really powerful role. And it's not, separate from kind of either a school-based or purely organizing-based model. So that's been fascinating to learn about.
And one of the goals is that either the district or the school site does recognize the need of community advocacy within the school, that after a couple of years, they would pick up that stipend, or they would be the ones giving out the stipend to the parent. We have been successful in several cases where the parent has actually been hired by the school. And that's what we would like to see at all the schools.
Wow, this sounds like amazing work. Do you guys have any closing thoughts that you would like to share?
Nothing comes to mind.
Let's talk for a moment about your story.
Okay, we can do that. So I started with UMP exactly 14 years ago. And at the time, I was really struggling with my oldest, which was in middle school. And my thoughts of my rights as a parent within the school site were very different from what they are now. At the time, I thought that teachers were always right, and that I was nobody to tell them how to do their job. And that if my daughter was struggling, it was because something was wrong at home, not at school. But then I realized my daughter wasn't running away from home, she was running away from school. So I know there was some disconnect there that I needed to change, but I didn't know how. And without knowing my rights, I limited myself as how much I would go into the school or ask questions. After I took a leadership training, and learned my rights as a parent, that gave me the knowledge of actually walking into a school and letting them know my daughter is struggling and I need to know why. And it's not because something's happening at home, it's because something's happening here, and we need to work together to solve that, or to support my daughter in her education. By the time I had learned all this information, it was quite late, because by then my daughter had fallen into drugs, alcohol, gangs. She found what she couldn't find at school, she found in the streets. But I also realized that I wasn't the parent of one, I was the parent of 5, and I needed to make things different. And in order to do that, it wasn't going to be because I needed to change my children. I needed to change myself. I needed to change things in me. I needed to educate myself to better educate my children. And since then, all of the work that I've done with other parents at school sites and with partners like the district, the Salt Lake City School District, and different departments of the University of Utah, I feel that it's come a long way. Since then, I've had 2 high school graduates. 2 of my children graduate from high school. Very interested in their higher education. I've seen other youth in the community now graduate. Youth that came from families that didn't have conversations of education, that weren't very interested, not because it wasn't what they wanted for their children, but because they didn't know how to guide their children into that education. I feel that community advocacy has come a long way, and we now have a quite large group that is not only making a difference within their own families and with their own students, but they're making a difference in their communities.
Wow, that's a very powerful story. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, and I wish you both luck in your work and your professional and personal lives.
you.
Thank you.